In a world of rising inflation and falling dollar values, Julia and Marissa take on the patriarchy, forging fake vaccine cards for the greater good, for equality.
That's all I got. Welcome back, family. Today's story is about two Long Island nurses who made over $1 million selling fake vaccination cards and credentials, allegedly. Okay, the two women, Julia Devenot, 49, owner and operator of Wild Child Pediatric Healthcare, and her employee, Marissa Aurora, 44, ran their unethical operation from November of 2021 to January of 2022. When they were caught by an undercover detective and are currently charged with one count of forgery in the second degree. So why is this story interesting and worth talking about? We can look at the news ever so briefly and see that people are picking sides on vaccination. But there's always money to be made in any sorts of these divides. What makes this story important and interesting is the frequency of sales, the services they offered, as well as the perks. Like I said earlier, they made over $1 million in under 3 months from November to January. So what did they do? Clearly they sold fake vaccination cards, allegedly. But how did they do it? They were selling these bogus cards, $220 for adults and $85 for kids. Now, if you were only counting the adults, it would seem as though these two lovely ladies might have had nearly 7,000 customers, if not more. Furthermore, the customers of these ladies, they received the added bonus of entering the fake records into the New York State Immunizations and Information System database. So if you purchased their product, not only would you have the fake card, but you would also have the bulletproof verification that you were vaxxed when in fact you were not, right? That's impressive. So how were they caught? And who were their customers? That's going to be the focus of this video. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button, as well as hit the subscribe button. And be sure to comment below your thoughts on the matter, right? Again, I'm going to restate the question. How were they caught and who were their customers? It's my opinion that they got caught because of the number of deals they made, possibly 7,000 within 3 months. That's nearly 77 customers a day. How long do you think anyone could go unnoticed by law enforcement conducting that many deals, that many transactions a day? Word of mouth, right? The sad truth of word of mouth is that it cuts both ways, right? It could either build your business or destroy it entirely, right? So who are their customers, right? To answer the question, we got to approach this investigation the same way any other investigation involving law enforcement. How would they approach it, right? The first suspect is always the spouse. And in this case, Julia Devenot, her husband just so happens to be a New York police officer. And currently he's being investigated by the department's Internal Affairs Bureau. I guess it's only right that this guy be investigated. His wife's part of a fraudulent scheme. But we have to understand the relevance of this man being targeted even though his wife ran the operation. We might find our answer in an earlier article from the New York Post, dated December 15th, 2021. High-ranking NYPD cops busted for submitting fake vaccine cards, in which Lieutenant Joseph Marcella and Captain Desmond Morales have been placed on desk duty for allegedly trying to evade the citywide vaccine mandate by submitting bogus paperwork. The bogus fake vaccine cards. The article goes on and explains that numerous people have been or will be summoned by the AG and FBI. These numerous people would more than likely be the subordinates of these two men, the subordinates of Lieutenant Marcella and Captain Morales. Why is this important? Lieutenant Marcella joined the force in 2008. Captain Morales in 2000. Both men of over a decade in service. It would be logical to consider the possibility that these men made friends, made connections, right? Furthermore, if your higher-ups are engaged in fraud, who's to say that the subordinates wouldn't consider it fair game, right? Due to recent events in news, even in social media, the strength of the blue line, the strength of the police departments nationwide have become known, right? These guys close ranks like nobody's business. They got the sort of team spirit collegiate cheerleaders can only dream of, right? They're not ratting on one another, and they damn sure ain't dropping a dime on one another. It's this sort of teamwork corporate America wishes it had, right? It's a corporate wet dream. Team spirit. Can we get it just as good as the police department? So we have that, right? We have two higher-ups that were engaged in fraudulent activities, and if the higher-ups are engaged in this sort of behavior, who's to say that their subordinates would not be? Which takes us to an even earlier article, an article dated November 13th, 2021, which just happens to be another article by the New York Post. The article titled, FDNY Sanitation Workers Under Probe for Vaccination Fraud, Sources Say. So, allegedly, right? New York firefighters and sanitation workers were submitting fake proof of vaccination, and even stealing vaccination cards to comply with Mayor de Blasio's job mandate. The blank cards were stolen from the agency's Brooklyn HQ and other facilities where the department's agency's incident management team offered the jabs, offered the actual vaccination. Right? These guys were warned in an October 30th memo that falsifying or forging an official vaccination card for the purpose of proving vaccination compliance may be a felony, right? And that was just the fire department, man. The sanitation department, they was even more, they were even more outgoing and creative with it. The article goes on to say sanitation workers were caught providing fake vaccination, obviously. But how they did it is what's interesting, right? The sanitation workers, they are people, right? They're people persons, whatever. They got the fake vax cards from CVS employees in Staten Island and Brooklyn. They got caught because the bogus cards, the fake cards, said that they got the Johnson & Johnson jab. But at the time, CVS wasn't carrying the Johnson & Johnson jab, right? So they had a moron giving them bad. Their whole operation fell apart because no one checked the fine print, right? No one did just a little bit of research. So there's that. So we have a police department. No, we have multiple police departments. We have the fire department as well as sanitation workers, all under the mandate that they have to get the vaccination, right? And just to fill in the gap, the mandate that was given on October 30th by Mayor de Blasio, that was that all New York City municipal employees to get their first dose by 5 p.m. of October 29, 2021. Yeah, citywide workers who haven't started their vaccine series by November 1st will be placed on unpaid leave until they provide proof of vaccination, right? It was either get the vaccination or essentially be unemployed. These people, these men, these women, they were put between a rock and a hard place. Their beliefs or their employment, right? And it doesn't matter if it's if their belief is a conspiracy or if it's factual, right? It's commonly understood that if it's my body, it's my choice, right? I should be able to decide whether I should be medicated. I should be able to decide whether my body is augmented in any way. It shouldn't be forced upon me. But at the same time, these men, these women, most of them, the firefighters and police officers, they took an oath to protect and serve. How can you protect persons and property when there's a chance you might infect them, or you yourself might get infected? In the sense of the sanitation worker, how can you do your job when you're at risk of infection, right? You can't really perform your duties. Yeah, you can't really do the job that you signed up to. And if you can't do the job that you signed up to, there's always termination looming on the horizon, man, because there's always somebody else that's willing to do your job for less, right? That's the fear that they ultimately have. They can be fired and replaced. They're no longer persons. They're no longer family men. They're no longer family women. They're just pawns, robots in city government, right? They're enforcers of policies that they themselves skirted. And it's here where we get our answer as to where Julia and Marissa, the two ladies mentioned earlier, where the customers came from, okay? Folks are losing pay because they refuse vaccination and search for an answer. That doesn't make them victims in any way. The people discussed thus far understood what laws are and the penalties associated with breaking them. Yet they chose to ignore the consequences and game the system. The system everyone else has to abide by, okay? Julia and Marissa not only offered fake vax cards, they offered assurance and the promise of job security once more. Because if it was in the system and you had the card, it looked like you actually did it. Who could prove that you didn't, right? But it was good business and word of mouth that got these women caught and brought down their whole operation, allegedly. But what do you think? Comment below. Thanks for joining me and theorizing a trend in human behavior. Go ahead and check that playlist. You guys have been wonderful, man. Let's grow the channel and have a nice one. Peace.